I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue.
Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels, where we talk about your experiences, advocacy news, research, and today's heroes for kids. We are here to bring hope to the unthinkable but real experience of a child diagnosed with cancer. Jack's Angels advocacy mission is to provide a voice for children with cancer to effect change for a more hopeful future for those to come. Childhood Cancer Talk Radio starts right now. Here is your host, Janet Demeter.
Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and today's show is very special in that we're going to the frontier of cancer research and neuroscience. I'm going to be visiting with Marisa Martinez, a true warrior mother for her daughter, Zamora Moon, who is currently living with diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, or DIPG. Now, there's no mincing words when we talk about DIPG. It's the one you don't want to have. No childhood cancer is a walk in the park. Even a cancer with a good prognosis can take a child's life. But DIPG's track record is especially bleak. And it's important to talk about this disease because it exemplifies in a number of ways the unfortunate state of pediatric cancer research. Marisa and Zamora are truly coming to us from the frontier of treatment research, neuro-oncology, and neuroscience. Now, I'll risk telling you something you may already know, and I'm sure I've already said, but most people do not know that less than 4% of our tax dollars in the United States, purposed for cancer research, benefits pediatric cancer research, even though cancer is the leading cause of disease-related death in children in the U.S. Most childhood cancers are marginalized as rare and thus receive inadequate research funding. We can understand this to a certain point, right, for the profit-driven private sector, but with our government funds, I hate to say it, but with the biggest cancer charities, even a smaller portion of their research investments are for pediatric cancer research specifically, for some of them. People can't wrap their heads around this entirely if they haven't been directly affected by the realities of childhood cancer. So what is the reality then? Diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma is arguably one of the deadliest pediatric brain tumors, responsible for roughly 80% of pediatric brain tumor deaths each year. And brain tumors are the leading cause of death in children with cancer. And then just this year, at our Congressional Caucus for Childhood Cancer Summit in September, the NCI announced that now brain tumors have taken the #1 spot in childhood cancer incidence. And despite this, the 200 to 400 families each year experiencing a DIPG diagnosis, that's in the United States alone. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yes. Despite these facts, okay, all of these families who experience this diagnosis for their young child each year must discover that there are no solutions for them because of the lack of research activity for DIPG over the last few decades. Treatment protocol and prognosis has not significantly changed in over 50 years. The reality is that after experiencing the slug in the gut that a terminal diagnosis is the slap in the face that your child's life doesn't matter to the system because you literally hear that the numbers of them aren't great enough for research investors. All the proclaimed good intentions in the world, and there are lots of them, have had no real effect on this experience. Yet the intentions are pointed out all the time in defense of the current profit-driven system. The reality is most research for DIPG and other deadly childhood cancers is funded by parents or parent-driven organizations, which is no small burden for these families. My guest today, Marisa Martinez, has been willing and continues to be willing to go to any lengths to find solutions for her daughter, Zamora Moon, despite a good deal of criticism at times from onlookers. Zamora is now pushing through her 16th month post-diagnosis, but the median survival time for DIPG is about 9 months, and she has experienced some of the most cutting-edge treatments still in development. Zamora has endured traditional and non-traditional procedures and experimental microcatheter placement, as we've discussed here on the show before, regarding Dr. Stephen Gill's clinical trial at the University of Bristol in the UK. Later in the show, Lisa Spedale will join us, whose daughter Kira was one of the first to undergo the experimental procedure. Marisa comes to us today from Northern California. Marisa, are you there? Welcome to the show.
I am here. Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm. Can you hear me all right, Marisa? Just checking.
Am I harder to hear than you?
It may just be my audio, but I just wanted to make sure that that everyone out there could hear you.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Great.
Okay.
So, my gosh, where is Zamora currently being treated now?
Well, she's going back to England. Currently now she had gone to she'd gone to England and had the CED placed this summer, and it was an injection of sodium valproate, and that left her unable to walk. So
Wow.
what they did was they wanted to hold off until she got back to her baseline where she was walking. Well, that never
Right.
happened. And of course, in DIPG world, everything works very fast. And I went back to Germany, which I'll explain is IOVK in Cologne, Germany, and it's under the direction of Van Hoel, which is very innovative and wonderful. And I think that he played a very big key in helping Zamora survive, because her tumor was very diffuse, and after this treatment, it became a little bit, I don't know, you can't say really solid, but it became a little bit under control. And
That's
able to
interesting.
do the CED. Yeah,
Wow.
So she went, so her tumor progressed about 10% more, and then it started to cause inflictions on her breathing and her eating, and then she had an NG tube, and they said she was perhaps in progression or pseudoprogression.
Well, that's
And,
a very scary experience. Just for the
that's
benefit,
horrible.
for the benefit of our listeners, just so they know a little more about DIPG, it's in the pons area of the brain stem, and the reason why it's so tricky to treat is because it's there in the most very protected part of the human body, in the very center of your head, literally, and so it's hard to get medicine there, and it's inoperable, because that part of the brainstem not only affects, your vitals, but it's ill-defined. It's interspersed with healthy tissue, so it's not something that we can treat with conventional means. And so, pretty much every child you either take, the terminal prognosis and, you kind of live with it and do what they have right now, or you go for these experiments that they're doing in accessing the tumor directly, because systemic chemotherapy really does very little for the children. But just to back up just a little bit, Marisa, would you tell us a little bit about Zamora and what your life was like before you had to learn about what this monster was?
Well, I mean, nothing prepares you, and you always think you feel very sorry for the other people whose children get cancer. And I'm a school teacher, and I've been a teacher for 22 years. And 2 years prior, I'd been setting up a bake sale for a student at the school, and because she had stomach cancer, and my daughter went to the same school that I taught at, and we were, setting up bake sales and stuff, and we were like, oh, poor Harmony, she's just this lovely girl. And she did pass away from cancer. And I went to see her in the hospital, and it just turns out 2 years later, after that, Zamora gets prognosed with cancer, and it's the same doctor that one of the students had. So
Wow.
it's deafening, because you as a teacher, I'm around students all the time, and the world comes crashing in. And I literally, when I got the news, I checked myself into a facility where they had to sedate me for about a couple of days, because it's just when they say to you, listen, No, it's cancer. Okay, no, not the leukemia, not the 80% survival rate as what they're giving now to leukemia. I mean, when I was growing up in the 70s, that was a death sentence. They say, listen, it's a quality of life. Go make a good home for her and take her to Disneyland and get some Make-A-Wish things, and good luck with that. And you're standing there going, oh, no, what? Wait a minute, it's 2016, and you're telling me that there's nothing? And then you read on more, Janet, that Neil Armstrong's child, Buffy, had the same exact tumor as my daughter. And the same palliative care.
1962, people. 1962.
Right. 1962, the same palliative care given to his daughter was given to my daughter. Radiation. Goodbye. See ya. Okay. But there's a myriad of different kinds of trails you can perhaps get onto, but it's just a guinea pig thing. It's nothing. It's in phase one. I mean, that's just and so and I know that you get this diagnosis from your doctors, and I had this one doctor, which I don't have anymore, from another institution, and she just cold blankly told me. I mean, she's like, okay, yeah, have you thought about where do you want to bury her? Do you know the graveyard you want her in? This is when she was 1 month past diagnosis, and you need to talk to her about heaven or whatever you believe in heaven. And I was like, you know what? Unacceptable. Get away from me. I'm going to get a different doctor. And I tell parents this. I'm like, you know what? They're reading from a script, and their success rate is 0. They're talking to you from a script. From 0%. They have cured no one, 0%. So you listen to somebody who has no success at doing something, then I take it the way I'm like, okay, 0% success rate. Yeah, okay. And especially in the United States of America, where everything is legality and there's litigious everything. I'm going to sue you for looking at my kid wrong. I mean, I'm a teacher. I get that. I'm going to sue you because he doesn't read. Well, if you read to him at home, maybe it would help a little bit. But, everything's so litigious. And so we're here in America, and we're the progressive country, so to speak, and we're spending billions of dollars on this clown election. And what goes to these cancers? What goes to DIPG? Nothing. It's just sickening.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Where kids come first for the cure.
It's words you never heard.
Have you ever walked into a room on a mission to get something and totally forgot what you went in there for? I do it all the time, which makes me feel like a total civhead, as the Brits would say. Some might blame it on old age, but a recent study reported in the Quarterly Journal of Experimental Psychology suggests the simple act of passing through a doorway causes memory lapses. It appears the brain regards a doorway as an event boundary and effectively files away whatever you were thinking about as soon as you step through. What's a word for the feeling your thoughts are being stolen? Nucleptia. So, what's the solution? Try carrying an object that reminds you of the task. For example, if you go into another room to get a pair of scissors, carry the object you want to cut.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Secret Cuisines and Sacred Rituals is a quest, a place, and a feast. Join host Vilasi Venkatachalam every week to explore myths, mystique, old medicine, and brilliant modern solutions through a dazzling kaleidoscope of cuisines, cultures, and cures. This is the place where tribes gather, strangers and familiars, to be memory keepers and makers of our evolving, enduring, evergreen, spoken legacy of wisdom and ingenuity. In Velasi's words, when we do old things in new ways and new things in old ways, we paint with an inspired palette, weave our own healing traditions, and become our own guru. Vilasi is a troubadour of secret cuisines and sacred rituals. She collects stories of wisdom, ingenuity, ingenuity, and grit. She believes wellness and transformation happen when you stand at the threshold of delight and discovery. She displays her hidden penchant for drama when she leads the safari at the supper club. Her favorite pastime is to extol the marvels of cuisines, cultures, and cures. To her audience in workplaces, seminars, and salons, her mantra is, be your own guru. She is a biochemist, botanist, and alchemist who likes to churn delightful, useful things from a brew of art and science, ancient and evolving, old medicine, and new cures. Join Velocity every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
You'll always have my shoulder when you cry.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Welcome back to the show today. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and I'm talking today with Marisa Martinez of Northern California about the incredible journey she is currently experiencing with her daughter, Zamora Moon, who is battling DIPG, arguably one of the most difficult to treat pediatric cancers. And Marisa, I'm sorry, pronounced her name wrong. Marisa, before the break, we were discussing the reality here in the United States with this disease. Obviously, no one's been able to find solutions for it, but there's not a whole heck of a lot of research activity going on, and it's almost like, when you get the diagnosis and they want to just send you home with palliative care, it's almost like this resignation and kind of complete aversion to recognizing the fact maybe with a little more research, we could find solutions, right?
Right. Well, geez. And then that's where I took to the good old internet, and I was determined to find something for my daughter. And what I want to tell parents, because it's so important to tell parents this: get your name out there. Call the newspaper. Call your local newspapers. Call your local TV stations. Because I thought, here I am in Silicon Valley. I mean, there's got to be a solution somewhere in somebody's lab, because there has to be. And so I got in as many publications and magazines and TV interviews and said, hey, look at this disease. Is there a solution out there for anybody? And actually there was. There was a man that he says, I can't get a trial for this drug, but here, you can sign these liability. And she's been I can't talk about what the drug is, but it's just, she's been taking it, and it's a kind of a drug that lowers the iron in the body. So Zamora is extremely anemic, but her cancer has not metastasized in any way. It's just it's gotten about 1 millimeter bigger in her pons, which has started to affect her swelling. But with radiation, it's better. But I got out there, and then I read about Professor Gill, who is an amazing human being, one of the most amazing super geniuses in the world, and his GED process, and I was just like, this is it. This is great. And she qualified, and then she unqualified because she had SIDS. But then later on in April, she qualified 6 months later because her cyst had dissipated. But so in the meantime, I took her to Germany. I'd read about my friend is in Germany, and she had talked to me about this IOZK that's in Cologne, Germany, with Professor Van Gool, who is an amazing man as well, because these people are such pioneers for
so dedicated.
They see this horrific disease, as Dr. Suedain in the United States is, and Dr. Gupta in. Yeah, exactly. And also Dr. Gupta and UCSF as well are just these pioneers, because they do see this horrific. But I see the restrictions, the handcuffs in the United States, so to speak, where these guys are just like, I know how to do this, but I can't because of FDA regulations. So, I mean, I'm like, well, we're going to another part of the world then. And we did. And like I said, I'm a school teacher. I just fundraise, and put my name out there in papers and newspapers. And people ask me how I do it, and it's an incredible thing to do when your child's sick and dying in front of you. Where I had this beautiful little 7-year-old who is a violinist like me, started playing the violin when she was 3, was all like in advanced books and playing the violin, and all of a sudden couldn't really walk anymore, couldn't see very good anymore, couldn't read because she had double vision. And you watch your child slowly become something that you would never imagine as a parent, to die in front of you, to see the listlessness in their eyes drain from their body because they have a tumor in their head, and they're like, why can't you scoop it out, Mommy? Why am I unable to use my legs anymore? And my daughter is in a wheelchair now. She's been in a wheelchair since May, and she wonders, when can I walk again? And she does physical therapy. But I did hold off telling her that, listen, you might not live through this. Yeah. But I did tell her the truth. I said, listen, we're taking this cannabis, we're taking all these kinds of mushrooms, and I sought out a Tibetan healer. I do acupuncture with her. I mean, I'm running the gamut of everything that can also boost her immune system, but plus get her, to a place. And I know that my acupuncture is against the chemotherapy. She's like, I can't believe you're going to give her carboplatin. But I mean, what solution do I have? I mean, this monster is taking over my baby, and I know that all the odds are against me. Everything. Everyone, when I talk to them and tell them what I'm going to do, I see the "you're a crazy, deranged mom" look on their face. But I'm like, you're right. That's right. We're going to hedge forward. And I know some people are like, well, why don't you just let Zamora be? And I do ask her. I say, we're going to London. Do you want to do this, or do you want to keep fighting, or do you want to just rest? Well, tell me what you want to do, because I think that's important to do, is to tell your children. You ask your children what level they're at,
Well, I just read. Home,
I
had read that you would have some, opposition from people, and that's not uncommon. People don't realize to a great extent the plight of pediatric cancer and how little actual pediatric cancer, specified research there is, even for the most deadly ones where children are almost sure to die or sure to die. It's not like the emergency room. Our medical research system is profit-driven first, okay? And we're just, the only way to change that, or to help at least raise awareness for it, because it's not going to change unless people really understand, and you don't want them to have to experience it to understand, right?
No, you don't. So, and the reality is that they don't understand, and that's why these orphan diseases like DIPG, 200 kids die in America alone. Come on, I remember a Jack in the Box had killed a kid because it had E. coli from a hamburger. That Jack in the Box was dismantled within a month and closed down. But what are we closing down for? All these kids getting brain tumors, and it's just, we get 4% of funding, but not DIPG. We get even a fraction of that 4%. And I think people don't realize that this $5 billion for cancer, 96% of it goes to adults.
And my breast and prostate, and
right. My kid's grandfather he has liver cancer. He has a higher chance of living than Zamora, who's 9. It's not right. And the outcry is where we as parents, the pediatric, cancer parents, have to get out there, because otherwise it's going to remain silent. And that's my biggest thing I can tell parents, is that please, you have to get out there. You have to get local. You have to get, and even though it's grief, you just have to be a part of it. You're like, look here's my child. She has DIPG. My car is filled with bumper stickers I made of DIPG stickers.
Right.
And like, do you know what this is? This is what this is. So.
Well, you're not alone. You're not alone. For a very long time, though, Marisa, really before, when my son was diagnosed in 2011, and we're only 5 years later, the difference and the support with social media is night and day. At the time, yes, there was still social media, but I'll tell you, the one place where I felt I could, the one place I had available to me to connect was this group. It was a website. It wasn't a Facebook group yet. They came a little bit later, not that much longer, but I got, I got on there and started talking about some of the things we were trying, because I really believed that, we were put in a position to do that, not just for ourselves and for our son, but for other people to follow us. And I got shot down so hard by this one woman who wasn't even a parent. And it just really didn't make me want to go back. I didn't go back looking for support until after I'd lost my son. And then I started realizing all of these statistics, they make you feel like you live on Antarctica or something. But then you find out that, brain tumors are that DIPG is the second most common brain tumor. Really? It's responsible for how much of the death by brain tumor? Almost 80%? What? And you're telling me my child's life doesn't matter? We can just, that's sorry. It's just not profitable.
It's not profitable for the big pharmas, and it's not just some liberal hippie saying that, but it affects everybody. It affects every color, religion. It affects every child. Every child. That's one thing I've noticed on through social media, is seeing all we've all come together. Even my friends voting for Trump, I'm voting for Bernie or Hillary or whatever. It doesn't matter, because we all come together, and both our child have this brain cancer, and that unites us together. And we're thinking, what can we do to change this? There has to be something, and it's maddening. It's just maddening to think that my child's disease isn't profitable enough. It's just not profitable enough to take enough care of. I mean, that's what it comes down to, Janet, is money.
I know.
All it comes down to, money and capitalism, and that's sickening. That is
saving
really
lives.
Sickening.
Saving lives has to start coming first. And it's not going to happen unless a lot of us make the noise. So I can't applaud you enough for what you're doing. I'm going to take another break. We'll come back. We'll talk about legislation. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, brought to you by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Awareness Research and Advocacy for Children with Cancer, on the web at www.jacksangels.org. We're fortunate today to be talking with Marisa Martinez, mother of Zamora Moon, who is battling DIPG with great courage. Visit her Facebook page at Facebook, Zamora Moon. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Here's some fun facts about noses and ears I'll bet you didn't know. Did you know your ears secrete more earwax when you're afraid than when you aren't? And generally, people with asthma have better hearing than those who don't. Now, here's a word for you. When someone gets their ears pierced, they're actually piercing their pinna. The pinna is the fleshy part of the earlobe. Did you know it's possible to sneeze so hard you can break a rib? That happened to my husband's secretary once. And according to research, you'll blow your nose 250 times this year. Scientists have also determined that the smell in your right nostril is more pleasant, while the smell in your left nostril is more accurate. By the way, twice as many men as women can wiggle their ears. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life, and the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know, but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
And we're back with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and I'm here today with Marisa Martinez, and we're talking about DIPG, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, which is one of the deadliest pediatric brain tumors. Very, very difficult to treat, and it's been around for a while. We've known about it for a while. We're also talking about the state of pediatric cancer research in our country and how underfunded it is. And, you know, there's a lot of, it's a sad state of affairs, and we need to brainstorm, and people have been brainstorming about, you know, what can we do about it? Because, number one, Marisa is a perfect example of this. She is using her voice. She is getting her case known. People should not be expected to watch their children die because the numbers aren't great enough for investors. Lives need to start mattering more than profits. We have some really important pieces of legislation in both the House and Senate that have to do with incentivizing investing in this research for the private sector. Nowhere, however, is the government funds directly discussed. I mean, in the STAR Act, yes, they're making some provisions for research, treatment, and follow-up, and a number of different things. Please go to jacksangels.org advocacy page where you can see all of the bills. But the only one that addresses this issue of the 4%, and indirectly, because it's really addressing this issue of, could we prioritize our kids that are dying? We're talking about low survival rates and years of life lost, and HRES 586, which is, I hope I haven't lost you there. Oh, there you are. HRES 586 is called the DIPG National DIPG Awareness Resolution. And not only does it raise awareness for this disease, but as an example, that something so horrible, a certain killer, year after year after year with regularity, we need to start prioritizing low survival rate cancers and our children in the research grant process with our government funds. Those are our tax dollars purpose for cancer research. No one wants to talk about that. But we insist on it because we the people. And our voices need to be heard. So Marisa, I keep, forgive me, audience. Forgive me, Marisa. I keep mispronouncing your name.
It's okay. There's worse things that have happened to me lately. So that's okay.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm okay.
Well, just very quickly, I'm going to also introduce to you our second guest here is Lisa Spedale she's the founder and president of the Kira Spedale Foundation. And Kira was one of the first children to undergo the microcatheter procedure with Dr. Stephen Gill at the University of Bristol in the UK. And the Kira Spedale Foundation raises funds and awareness to combat DIPG. Kira fought bravely for 17 months, and I read here that she traveled to England 5 separate times. And she was one of the pioneers. And here we have another pioneer family. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, Marisa. And I'm, another crazy lunatic mother that
I would love it.
To find the best thing in the world for her child.
Yeah, let them call us crazy lunatics, but, until we make a noise, nothing changes. I mean, that's just the reality.
Well, it's very, very unfortunate that we have to leave our country this country that is supposed to be, the finest in the world, to find the finest in the world. And Marisa and I both know what that feels like. And it's a terrifying, terrifying journey, but we both did it because we know that in order to save our children, we have to be their voice. And they cannot do it themselves. We have to do it for them.
Definitely. And it's such a disarming experience, the whole diagnosis, because I don't know about you two ladies, and I'd ask you to expound on this, but, you know, I had a deep, dark feeling for a while. Something was very wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then when this finally surfaces and you discover what it is, and you hear, oh, it's terminal, and should we, you know, as Marisa told us before, you know, they're basically trying to plan her burial and all this stuff the first month out.
Absolutely.
It's just
the
insane.
first. My Kira, when she was diagnosed, I remember she was playing in the waiting room, and Kira is a triplet, and so playing alone was very foreign to her. For one, she was playing in the waiting room, and I was afraid she was going to catch the flu from the things that she was playing with, you know. And here, this doctor sitting across from me is looking at us and saying, there's nothing we can do for you. And your face is on the wall behind you. You don't even know, you can't even comprehend the words, you know, and you're like, what? You know, and so, and after researching it, just like Marisa, it's a monster. It's the biggest monster out there, one of them. And you know, we stumbled across the whole Stephen Gill, you know, experimental surgery, just because our neighbor in Lake Geneva was actually the engineer for Stephen Gill. He and his company were the engineers that were pioneering the system. So Kira literally was the first American child to go over, and the second child worldwide to have this treatment, to have this drug delivery system implanted in her head. And if I can just explain the problem with delivering systemic chemo, it's actually, you know, in my opinion, immoral to give these children systemic chemo.
Because it won't get where it's going to go, right?
The 250 failed trials in the past, you know, 55 years. When are you going to stop? I mean, it's obviously not working. You know, you keep putting chemotherapy and steroids into these babies, and it hasn't worked in 250 systemic chemo trials. When are you going to stop? Now, they've stopped in England. They don't give systemic chemo for DIPG in England at all, or in Europe at all, because I personally am, you know, my friend and Leo as well. We just feel it's immoral. And so what Stephen Gill has done with this drug delivery system is pierce the blood-brain barrier. That's the problem. They can't get the drugs across the blood-brain barrier. God made the barrier correct, you know, and so we can't get anything in there. So Stephen Gill has pierced the blood-brain barrier with the catheters going across the blood-brain barrier, through the brain, into the brainstem, and he's delivering chemotherapy. Mark Thordain as well, he does not deliver chemo, though. That is a big confusion in America. He delivers an antibody, which is a cell that attaches itself to cancer, and in the pocket of that antibody, he has radiation. So Mark Thordain is delivering radiation via an antibody.
But,
so
you know, it's still, you know, awesome that look, one of the greatest challenges to treating it is access. And this is a way that, you know, we're trying in each of our countries to find ways that'll, you know, go past our protocols, right? And hopefully, you know, there'll be more collaboration in the world. I know our scientists want it, you know, but it just takes time. And these kids, like Zamora, are on the frontier of our knowledge and our research. And this is what parents have to do. In order to try to find, I mean, we've really, and what I also mentioned before is that most of the funding for DIPG research comes from parents and parent-driven organizations, and that is a very big burden to put on these families. Huge. Huge.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we're going back to London. They're not infusing in Bristol at the moment, but we're going back to the place we're going back to is Harley Street, in Harley Hospital in London. And there is a doctor there working under the supervision, of course, Professor Gill is Dr. Surges, and we are going to get another infusion. But, and I get the resistance from the doctors, like, well, are you really going to do that to her? And I said to them, what if I could save more children by knowing what this does to Zamora? What if this could save so many other kids' lives? And I am very aware that I might not come back with Zamora from London. I'm very aware that this could really harm her. But I want to push the limits. I want to do a matrix of drugs and see what we're doing Nivolab, which is a PD-1 inhibitor, and plus we're going to be doing we're not going to do sodium vaporate again, but we're going to do carboplatin, perhaps. So, it's just about pushing. It's pushing. And what if I can save 10 more kids? That's I'm a teacher,
Yes. Yes.
My life is children,
When we're on the edge of research like this, we're the students and the teachers. We're in it together. It's just the way it works out.
Right, but I'm literally a teacher. But I'm a literally a teacher.
I know.
I want to thank both you, Janet, and Lisa, for just being amazing advocates for DIPG parents like myself. You guys are both lost your precious children, and I tell Lisa and I tell Janet, how are you guys not in a ball in a corner in a little box somewhere? Oh yeah, right. But I just that you get to. I see. I'm like, she's coming out and laughing. Like I don't even know if I'll find my smile again. And that's where I see you guys as just the true warriors of everything. I'm a warrior because I have her next to me, but what will I be like? And I thank you, both of you. You're very inspirational to so many people. Both of you, really.
No, and I'm very honored that you say that, and I'm very proud of you because you have to try. I was the same way. They tell you there's no hope, and you say, "I'm sorry, I have to try." And it's when you're presented with this. I think it's I believe in a God that is helping us. So we were presented with this. So trying is what we must do because there are other children that now suffer. And how can you continue to make this all right? It's not all right. It's absolutely
We're going to be back. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio here on TogiNet.com, brought to you by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Awareness Research and Advocacy for Children with Cancer. We'll be back to our conversation with Marisa and with Lisa after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. Don't go away. It's good stuff.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
If you're ready for a big change in your work, your career, your happiness, your life, it's time for the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Marla believes that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Join us as successful life coach Marla Tabaka inspires you and her clients to explore, discover, and live your dreams by developing what she calls the $1 Million Mindset. Marla will inspire you to take action on your dreams and reveal secrets to success that will help you realize your own unique power. Tune into the $1 Million Mindset for heartwarming stories with Marla Tabaka. Learn tips and tricks to building a successful business and unlock the secrets to creating a happier, more balanced life through abundant thinking and attraction power. For more information on the $1 Million Mindset, go to our website, marlatabaka.com. That's MarlaTabaka.com. It's the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
It's words you never heard.
Did you hear about Wesley, the golden retriever puppy from Michigan that was fitted with braces? Before you think this is a bona fide insanity, Wesley was born with teeth that were so crooked he couldn't shut his mouth all the way. This was affecting his ability to eat properly. So his owners took him to the Harborfront Hospital for Animals and Veterinary and Dental Solutions, where a doggy orthodontist prescribed him a set of braces. And now, pictures of Wesley smiling with his bright, shiny braces have been circling the internet. With all that metal wrapped around their teeth, some would think that most dogs would become bruxomaniacs, but not Wesley. He doesn't mind the braces at all, and is now able to eat his food with gusto. A bruxomaniac is someone with an uncontrollable urge to grind their teeth. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
And we are back with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and I've had the definite pleasure today of speaking with Marisa Martinez, mom to Zamora Moon, and now we have Lisa Spedale with us, mom to Kira. Both of these girls, and Kira was the first American child to undergo the microcatheter delivery system for chemotherapy at the University of Bristol in the UK under the guidance of Dr. Stephen Gill. And now Zamora Moon, she apparently the procedure's been perfected, whereas Kira had to go several times to have it inserted. Now it's a one-stop deal, and Zamora is continuing now into her 16th or 17th month of surviving post-diagnosis, which for DIPG is excellent, because the median survival time is unfortunately only 9 months. We're talking about this because this is on the cutting edge of research, not only in treating, pediatric oncology, but also in neurosurgery and neuroscience. And so the contribution that these pioneering women are making is incredible. Kira fought bravely for 17 months, and now Zamora, her mom, Marisa, has not only done this, but she's also gone to Germany for immunotherapy treatment, and which is a combination of virotherapy and hyperthermia. So I wanted to ask Marisa to explain that just a little bit, and if they're considering, is there more of that in the future, or has she finished her treatments there?
We did the immunotherapy because we were ineligible for the CD because of cysts. But after we had gone back five times, her cyst had dissipated. But the immunotherapy is just they put a Newcastle virus into the body, and they make a vaccine from your blood. And what happens is then the Newcastle virus attacks the cancer cells, because the Newcastle virus is just a bird flu, and it has our immune system flushes it out, but the cancer cells don't, and so it clings on to the cancer cells, and therefore your vaccine, which Professor Van Gool has made, it goes in there and ideally attacks the cancer cells. But the only thing with it doesn't work fast enough. And that's one of the things that I want to tell some parents. It's like it's great. It does work a lot, but it's one piece in the puzzle, and It's important to get both things, because Zamora was the first child to receive both CED and immunotherapy in the world. She was the first one. I was very excited about that, and I feel like when I'm done with, if we do more treatments with the CED, we will go back and get immunotherapy, because the thing about this disease is it travels down the central nervous system, and it'll travel into the medulla, and it'll travel down the spine, and I think it's a battle. It's a constant battle to get this, but it actually Van Gool is brilliant man, and we're really happy that we were able to get treated in Cologne by him.
May I say, too, one of the other things that they are discovering is that as with Kira Wren in England, when you have the chemotherapy in the brain stem first and then radiate, they're finding that it's much more effective. So Kira Wren, and so Zamora has had radiation after receiving the chemo infusion. So the radiation she just had may greatly affect the tumor and keep it from coming back. Kira Wren right now has no evidence of tumor. So she's being scanned again next week. They're watching her very closely. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
When they put the chemo in first and radiate, that it's actually much more effective. That's one of the things they're exploring.
Amazing. And can people learn more about this on your website, Lisa?
They can, or on fundingneuro.com, which is Stephen Gill's funding page. It explains, the procedure. The procedure is also explained on Kira's page. The advancements since Kira's Zamora's system is basically the same as Kira's. However, the catheters that went into Kira could not live in the head, so they had to be taken out with the surgery after each infusion, where now Kira's tubes were made out of like a silicone, I forget what it's called, and now they're made out of carbazane, which is a different substance that can remain in the head. So Zamora's system remains in the head. She doesn't have to have tubes in and out and in and out. So
that's amazing.
There's a bone-anchored port behind Zamora's ear. Marisa, does she still have that port?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I love that.
There's a little bone-anchored there's a little bone-anchored port that was developed by Stephen Gill. Stephen used this bone-anchored port to break the blood-brain barrier with Parkinson's patients. So but the port was too large for children. So Stephen, in conjunction with Renishaw, developed the port to be child size. So it's a bone-anchored port. They do one surgery. He inserts the entire system, and the child merely is hooked up to receive chemotherapy from then on. So it's remarkable.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And there's
we're scheduled for another infusion. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And when Zamora receives her infusion, she'll just be sitting there, and she won't feel anything. It's not like she's going to be uncomfortable or sick, or it's not going through all of her veins. It's going directly into her brainstem. So it's really remarkable stuff.
Back, it's like 5 years ago is ancient history, but back a few years, really,
back in the olden days.
Seriously, we were looking at a treatment in Germany that involved hyperthermia and radio waves. I know that targeting, I guess hyperthermia is also a way of targeting the tumor. I don't know how they do it, but it would be so nice if we had more, don't you think, more experimentation here with possibly non-toxic variables in the equation, because
absolutely.
Even if we could find something that could slow it down while we're doing the biological studies to find out causes.
Right. And when Joe and I went over to England, we were allowed to try, merely by signing and saying, we know this is a very big chance, and she could die on the table, and we know that, but we have to try. And we signed and we agreed to what he discussed with us. In America, we need some sort of fast track mechanism for these promising treatments, to be able to try, and instead we're caught in a barrel of red tape.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A really good example of that is the cannabinoids that have been proven to kill cancer, yet because we have all these legal issues with marijuana, it's really tough. Some kids are made to go out of state. They're afraid they're going to lose families are afraid they're going to lose their children because they want to use, for different things. But, finding the right medicine is a huge thing right now for DIPG. Accessing, and then what do we do, right? So I always plug this little project they have at the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute. It's a technology. It's a microchip technology that literally, through measuring the variables, the math, of liquid seeping and interfacing with the tumor and measuring necrosis, try to determine the right combination therapy for that child with this chip, 12 different therapies, over the course of a weekend after chip insertion. So there are really innovative projects out there that could help, but it's hard to get them known.
We don't want it to be, cowboy medicine. That's not what they're doing in England. They're very, very precision. They're very educated, and the research they're doing over there way outweighs what we're doing over here. So it's not a cowboy medicine scenario. It's very, very serious and very, very controlled.
Oh, I didn't mean to make the 12 Pebbles project sound like cowboy medicine. It's actually
I didn't
part of the.
I don't mean to make England sound like it's a cowboy medicine thing. They are very, very controlled over there, and so it's. But we don't have this type of option in America to find and try. And so. It's very frustrating, especially when you have something like DIPG. And they're trying new medicines, but it's a very delicate process. And what you put in the brainstem, if it causes swelling right away, you're going to lose your child. So they're very, very cautious with the medicines that they put into children's brainstems. They must be, So go ahead.
Absolutely. This is the project I mentioned was through the Children's Oncology Group combination therapy program. It's a worldwide collaboration, and this was a simple piece of technology that could help quickly determine what would potentially, because it's not non-trivial. If you put the wrong thing in there, I'm sure that Marisa would agree with that. When you have something put in there and all of a sudden they're not walking, that's bad too. So there's a lot at stake with our research right now.
There is. I mean, so like sodium valproate, it's all of a sudden she stopped walking. And I just attribute it to. I mean, I'm going back again. So I mean, and people are like, you're crazy going back again. And I think, well, it's not. I don't think she'll never not walk again. I look at Kira Wren, and I'm just like, she's my hero.
Yeah.
And I look at people like that. But I mean, I look at the innovation of Professor Gill, and he's just my hero. And also, Professor Van Gool. I mean, he's having a success with a couple of kids right now. I mean, they're really responding well to his therapy, and the hypothermia is brilliant. Because the minute after she had hypothermia, it seemed to really stress the tumor, and that's what he does before he injects the Newcastle virus. So the tumor definitely does get stressed with the hypothermia.
Ladies, I seriously hope that you will come back and update us all on the progress with Zamora. And Lisa, I would love to have you back again. Please come. There's just not enough time for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Subject.
Thank you so much. And we're wishing Zamora all the best. And
God bless Zamora. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. And Kira is Zamora's Zamora's little angel. I have to tell you that.
Look for rainbows, Marisa.
I'm always looking for them. For Kiki.
God bless you all.
You too.
Thank you so much. God bless you too.
Thank you.
And their parents have a voice.